Hello, all you he's, hers, and non-binary furs. My name is Fursuiting, and I'll be your host this evening on So You Have a Fursuit, What Now? A complete guide to anything and everything you need to know while fursuiting, fursuit care, and staying safe while in your fursuit. Now, I don't know if this happened to anyone else, but when I first got my fursuit, I had spent so long learning how to commission someone, getting it, that I didn't know what to do when I got it. I didn't know how to stay safe, I didn't know how to take care of it, and I really wasn't very good at performing in suit. So this is a quick guide for anyone who's just starting out, or even people who have been fursuiting for a long time who just want to learn new stuff about fursuiting. Now, when fursuiting, you should keep in mind pre- and post-suiting. I'm going to go over some tips that you can do before suiting and after suiting to optimize your fursuiting experience, and everyone else's when it comes to hygiene purposes. One of the most important tips to remember when fursuiting: please shower before and after suiting. Trust me, everyone around you will thank you later. If you shower before, it'll keep your suit from getting stinky and make it last longer, and always shower after because you're sweaty and gross, and no one wants to be around someone who's sweaty and gross. Now, a big question I had when I was starting off was what to wear in fursuiting. I've heard a lot of good things about Under Armour when full suiting, and I'm sure it's great, but as someone who's only had a partial, I've realized that there's not a lot of information out there for partial suiters. Personally, from experience, I recommend a thin shirt, a thin jacket if you don't have arm sleeves, or a cardigan. Cardigans work really well because they're thin and they cover everything. You should get something that's thick enough to where it covers your skin and you can't see it, but is also thin enough so it's breathable and you don't overheat. Please remember that it's totally okay to poodle if that's what you want. If you're okay with skin showing, that's fine. Don't let people keep you from doing that because, you're breaking the magic. Don't do that. Don't. You're ruining the experience for everyone here. A big thing to keep in mind that I've seen people overlook is keep your style consistent. Ask yourself, what would this character wear? Don't just be like, oh, these colors go well together. Because that's what I did. I was just like, oh, I have a gray shirt. That's cool. And then another time I would wear something totally different just because the colors went well together. Which is fine. I mean, color schemes are great. But you should do a healthy middle ground. For example, if your character is a chill Hawaiian dad type, wear a white shirt and Hawaiian overshirt with a button up. Maybe even a fanny pack if you want to be extra. It's just a good idea to keep your style consistent and ask what the character would wear, because it adds another layer of personality to yourself. As someone who is born female and does not identify as such, I actually identify as non-binary, I had a whole heck of a time learning how to bind in fursuit. Now, if you trans or people really know that, now this is hard to do in fursuiting because obviously compressing your chest makes it a lot harder to breathe. And you need to be able to breathe through your fursuit, which is already a very difficult task on its own. Now, even if you're not trans, I'm sure there are plenty of females out there who are presenting as male with a male or non-binary character. Now, if you have the money, you should look into getting a binder, especially for fursuiting. These can also be used for things like working out or swimming. To do this, you just get a binder that is a size or two above what you would normally wear. You can also just wear a tight sports bra if that's what you want to go for. It's honestly up to your comfort level, and you should never just throw yourself into a convention or fursuiting situation and just test it out. I recommend just putting your fursuit on and seeing what you're comfortable with. When I was first starting out and I was first starting to transition with fursuiting, I would sit in my binder and my fursuit to see how long I could go to see if it would work out. And it honestly helped me learn a lot about my limits as a fursuiter. This goes with a lot of things with fursuiting, but the best way to figure out is test things out. Wow, that was a long tangent. I just like talking about trans stuff. Now, obviously, clothing isn't everything to do with post and pre-fursuiting. There are a lot of smaller good tips to keep in mind when fursuiting, and they're as follows. Eat a light protein-filled meal beforehand so you have plenty of energy for the day, something with carbs and obviously protein. Don't eat something with a ton of sugar. Another good idea is to get a good night's rest. Don't stay up until 3 a.m. partying and then basically exercise for upwards of 6 to 8 hours in one day. Yeah, not fun. Someone gave me a really good comparison of, think of it like you're taking a test. Think about all the tips that your school gave you, what you should eat in the morning, when to wake up, get a good night's rest, all that fun stuff. One of the most essential tips to remember before you suit is to look up the convention center or area where you're suiting and know your surroundings. Where is the convention center? What's the climate? How hot will it be? Will it be windy? Where's the headless lounge? Is there food I can eat? I'm vegan. What if there are only McDonald's and steakhouses? Don't overthink it. Just know the basics and you'll be fine. Know what places you can eat at, know where the headless lounge is, and just know what you should wear. Staying on the topic of being prepared, staying safe is the most important thing to remember to do while suiting. Depending on the suitor, there are different ways one can stay safe while in fursuit. Some people have diseases or illnesses that require them to be more careful while suiting. People with health problems such as diabetes, asthma, and MS, or multiple sclerosis should always consult a doctor before suiting. Trust me, your doctor won't care that you're fursuiting or that you're a furry, because your health is their main job, not caring what you do in your free time. For example, I actually have a disease that keeps me from fursuiting as much as I would like. HS, or hidradenitis suppurativa, I'm sure I'm butchering that name, is a usually chronic illness that means if I sweat a lot in certain areas, for example my armpits, it can cause painful cysts that last for a pretty long time. It means that I have to be extra careful while suiting and make sure that I'm not sweating too badly. This is a more mild disease than the other ones mentioned, but still a good example that I like to use. Honestly, just be careful. Your health is far more important than this fun side hobby as much as we would like to enjoy it to the full extent. A pretty general way of staying safe is staying cool and hydrated. I know everyone says this all the time, but please, drink water. Oh my god, I don't care if you're not thirsty. I don't care if you say you don't need water. Just take the water. Just take it. Just please drink water. Now, if you've ever been in a fursuit, you know that they're very hot. I'm pretty sure the highest a fursuit ever got was something like 115. And as someone who has fursuited pretty often, I can attest to that. There are a lot of good ways to cool off, such as taking frequent breaks, visiting the headless lounge, and just wearing cooler clothing. But you can also get additions to your fursuits, such as fursuit fans. There are also cooling vests for full suiters, but they're pretty expensive. I've seen any range from $25 to $250. I think the most I've seen are a few hundred. So yeah, just do what's best for you and your bank account. Lastly, breaks. These are one of the most important things while suiting. Now I recommend taking a 5-minute break every 1 or 2 hours. You should never fursuit for more than 6 hours a day, maybe 8 if you're very experienced. And this is mostly from personal experience. Obviously everyone has very different limits, and you need to learn those limits. Now, a good thing to look at is what should you do if you find a suitor on the ground passed out or on the verge of passing out. Now, first of all, just check to see if they're okay. Have your handler ask them if they're okay. If they don't respond or say that they are not okay, immediately call the police or EMS. Either you or your handler should begin removing as much of the suit as you can. If you have to, remove your head and paws and remove their paws bodysuit as much as you can without moving them. Do not remove their head. It is very important to keep their head still. And honestly, I would ask the EMS or the police on the phone what you should do, because I'm sure they're very experienced. They're not going to care that you're fursuiting, they just want to get you out of there safe. Or obviously the person who is passed out. Hopefully you are never the one passed out. Now, one of the most important reasons to stay safe in fursuit, besides your own health obviously, is because when the medical team gets there, they will cut the suit off, essentially ruining your fursuit. So remember to always take breaks and stay safe so that you don't have to get your fursuit cut open because you had a heat stroke because you refused to drink water. Now enough about all the boring stuff like staying safe. It's time to talk about my favorite part about fursuiting, performing. it's important. Now, if you prefer fursuiting for yourself and you don't really care how you present yourself, that is a-okay. This is a form of self-expression, so it all comes down to how you choose to express yourself. Now, when I say performing, I mean anytime you're in fursuit, whether it's on YouTube, a convention, or fursuiting for the public. When performing, remember that animation is key. We strive to look like an animal who just jumped out of a cartoon, or a documentary if you're a realistic suitor. I find that there are small ways to stay animated while suiting and make yourself look interesting. A good way is just add movement. Don't stand still, add a little bounce like you're rocking on your heels. Don't just walk, add some sort of emotion. Whether you're sad, excited, grumpy, or just a content little dude. I find one of the best ways to do this is give your character a personality. Give them a personality type. Are they angry most of the time? Make them stomp around, make them look scary. This is a really fun thing to do because it makes you feel more connected to your character, which makes it easier to do these things. One of the most fun things to do that is pretty small is give your character likes and dislikes. Maybe they get excited when they see something they like or run from something they're scared of. This also opens the door for one of my favorite things about fursuiting, and that is props. Props are good for people like me who never know what to do with their hands while suiting. My Fursona Felix, for example, loves strawberries, so I got a little strawberry plushie for him to carry. He also likes sharks, so I got him a shark bandana. Now, speaking of my Dutch Angel Dragon son, a great question to ask yourself when you first start suiting is, to speak or not to speak? Now, depending on your species, there are a host of different options. As a Dutchie, I choose to use a kazoo. I've heard of lots of different things like squeakers and whistles, but if you don't feel like holding something in your mouth or your fursuit muscles for hours on end, you can either talk normally or not talk at all. It's really all up to you. Personality and your character and how you present yourself is one of the funnest things to do while fursuiting, and it's a lot of the appeal of this art form. Now that you have a fursuit, it's time to keep it as close to its original beauty as you can. This can be easily done by regularly brushing your suit with a fursuit brush. Please don't use a comb or a hairbrush. It will either pull out the fur or not brush it properly. You can also do this by obviously showering before and after suiting, using fursuit spray, and so much more. Now, sadly, one day there will come a time when you need to do the dreaded task. Wash your fursuit. Now, this is most scary the first time because you're scared of ruining the suit. The best way to prevent this is, first of all, ask your maker what would be best. Chances are they know what's best based on the fur and how they made it. So ask them. Once they've told you, or if for some reason they don't respond, do a test on a small non-visible part of the suit. Now, we don't have time to review all the ways that you could wash your suit, but I highly recommend watching Pokari Rue's video on the topic, as they go into a lot of really good methods, and they explain it way better than I could. Now, along the lines of things you'll have to do as your suit gets older is get small repairs on it. Now, repairs can be easily done by yourself, but a lot of these are only temporary fixes. For example, if you have a part that is supposed to be glued down, you can use hot glue. But it usually doesn't last for too long and can damage the fabric through heat if you're not careful. Now, if you really want to repair one of these parts, I recommend going to your local craft store and getting some high-grade craft glue. Please don't use super glue, chances are it won't stick to the fabric right and will just end up leaving gross residue sticking to pieces of fur. It's very nasty. Popped seams are also pretty easy to repair if you know how to sew, which I don't. While I don't know a lot about sewing or repairing suits, I do know that to repair a popped seam, just find sewing thread that is close enough to the original that it blends in. Don't use like neon green or something on a black suit, it will stand out like a sore thumb. So find something close to the original color and just sew it back into place. Branching off this topic, I highly recommend that if you do know how to repair suits and have the materials, bring an emergency repair kit to cons. And if you don't need it, chances are someone else will. One of my favorite memories from Blue Ridge Furfare 2020 was after the rave on Saturday night, I went to the Headless Lounge and realized my suit's tongue was loose. I had noticed this at a con a few months prior, but I didn't know how to sew, so I just let it go until it was to the point where it was about to fall out. Now, I mentioned this to the people chilling in there with me, and this literal child was like, oh, I can fix that. And of course, I was looking at this kid like, what? Turns out this kid was a full-on fursuit maker. He ended up going back up to his room, bringing back his sewing kit, and fixing it. And he was fixing my suit, and another guy walked up and was like, oh, can you fix mine? So I'm pretty sure this literal, 12-year-old ended up fixing, 3 suits and making $75 or so. So it's very rewarding on both ends for you to bring an emergency repair kit for fursuits. Also, it was just a really nice bonding experience. Quick shout out to the kid who did this. He was willing to do it for very cheap. I just decided to give him $20. He probably would have done it for free. So, quick shout out to you, Edward. One of the things I don't hear people talk a lot about is matted fur. The way to fix matted fur is use a blow dryer on its lowest setting. If you don't see a low setting that is very cool, do not use it, because chances are it's way too hot and heat damage is very serious. Now, if you do find one with a very low, cool setting, blow the area out and use a brush in small portions to thoroughly brush it out, and this will definitely make it look a lot better. So you're all set now, right? You got your water, your suit is brushed, and you're sitting up after a nice, refreshing shower and a good meal and a long night's sleep. You're all ready to go, right? Wrong. If you're suiting anywhere in public, it's a good idea to find a fursuit handler. Now, what is a handler? Fursuit handlers are someone out of suit who can take care of the suitor. This includes giving them water, carrying their belongings, and generally just watching out for them. Usually at a fur con you can get away with not having one, but they're more crucial at other cons because most other cons don't have headless lounges, and you'll need someone who can remind you to take breaks and just help you. Now, everyone needs to hear this. If you are going out public suiting, not a convention, you need a handler. No questions asked. At other cons, you can usually get away with it because there will be other furries who can watch your back, or at least someone who can know what a furry is and not harass you. Other fans usually have an amount of respect for each other and will just be nice to each other. And at a lot of other cons, even if you don't have an official handler, you have other friends going with you who can watch your back. I've heard so many horror stories of furries getting attacked in public, or even if people don't mean to, they can overwhelm the suitor. And your safety is always more important than other people having fun. To find a handler, it should be someone who knows what a furry is and knows enough about you and your limits and any other special requirements you may have so that they can take care of you. What's most important is knowing what your handler needs to bring. They should probably use a backpack or something with multiple pockets so they can spread out the resources in a way where they know where everything is and can easily reach what you need. Necessary things to bring are water, small snacks such as energy bars, and any medical supplies your suitor may need. This includes inhalers, insulin, EpiPens, anything you could think that they may need for medical reasons. You can also bring things like fursuit spray and a fursuit brush, but you shouldn't need them for just a few hours of suiting, especially if you are only looking after one fursuiter. The more you bring, the more furries are going to love you. One thing most people overlook when they first get things arranged with a handler is communication. If I'm suiting and I have my kazoo in my mouth so I can't really talk, or I'm in public and I can't just yell to you, "Hey man, get me out of here, these people are weird." Good phrases to have signals for are water, get me out of here, and for the handler, danger. For example, if your handler has noticed someone who is following you, or someone they think could hurt you, such as a drunk person, or someone who just looks sketchy, they can get you out of that situation. There was a time a few years ago at YomiCon in 2019 where a guy was literally stalking me and some other suitors. Luckily, we were with 2 people who were not suiting, who could easily go grab security and have them help us out and get the guy out of there. It's one of the reasons I like to have a handler wherever I suit now, even if you think you can get away without. Now, that is all the stuff I've got prepared for you guys today, but do not fret if you have any questions because we are going to be hosting a Q&A panel very shortly after this once we get set up. so that you guys can ask me any further questions, or I don't know if you want to ask me about like my suit or anything else really. I recommend checking out all the people I watched while writing this who talked about these topics, as they really helped with the research process. If you have any questions or just want to support me in what I do, I'll have a list of where you can find me on different social medias. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and stay safe out there, my furry friends. Now, without any further ado, let's get this Q&A started. So, I am here now if you guys have any questions. Okay. Yeah, it's an absolute nightmare to hear people in fursuit. But I will get a little closer. You guys will just have to stare into my beautiful blue eyes. Oh, thank you. The persona's name is Felix. My real name is Parker, and my pronouns are they, them. I will eat the mic. No. In suit, you guys can call me he, him. Felix is a man. Have you, okay, so Razzie Dazzle asks, have you had anything special happen when suiting? Um, so this is more of a sad, funny story than like special, I guess. But one time this kid ran up to me, and apparently they thought I was another Dutchie because there was another Dutchie at the specific con. And I didn't have my kazoo at this time, so like I couldn't make noise. And this kid asked me to like squeak. And I had no idea what to do. So I just kind of like was just silent. And this kid started full on crying. We love the energy. So, eventually I was with a friend, aka my handler, and we just had to like full on walk away. Because the mom was really apologetic. She was like, I'm sorry, they don't know what's going on. So yeah, that was really funny, honestly. Like that was one of the funniest things I've had happen while shooting. What about kids? Okay, so kids are a very interesting experience in fursuit. They are either terrified of you or like love you to death. Like I was at a party one time and this literal like 3-year-old ran up to me and just like hugged me. Like grasped my legs with his tiny arms, and it was one of the sweetest experiences I've ever had. Have you ever had any more Karen horror stories? That's ooh. I'm gonna put on my other paw because I can do that. The best Karen experience I've had to this day is I was at a McDonald's, like public fursuiting. Of course, I called ahead. This was something I should have mentioned in the video, but if you're going public fursuiting, always call ahead first. Um, but I was at a McDonald's and this girl literally threw her drink at me. Luckily, it didn't hit my head; it just hit like my chest. Like she literally threw her Coke at me, and they had to kick her out. It was very nice. So yeah, Karens are very interesting. Did you make your suit yourself, or where did you get your fursuit? So, I'm sorry for all these long story times, but the way I got my suit was very interesting. It wasn't necessarily a pre-made, but this person who I'd known for a while, who's like a convention vendor, she got it as an artistic liberty suit from the. I don't know if I mentioned the maker in my video, but this was made by Sticks and Twigs on Instagram. Please go check them out. They are so sweet. So, the person who sold it to me was Failey's Pillows, and I was on a live stream of hers on Instagram, and she was like, "Hey, I have this suit for sale," and I was like, "Give." So, a couple months later at a convention, I bought it off of her, and it was very nice. Is this your first suit? This is my first suit, but I think if I were to get another one, it would either be of my persona Xavier, which you can see on my toy house if you go on my website, or just a remake of Felix. Felix is about 3 years old now, so he will have to get another suit pretty soon. What's your social media? If you go to the BRFF thing, wait, I can just link it out here. I will say my Instagram and stuff, so I'll just write it down. You can find me on Furry Amino, Instagram, YouTube. But if you go to BRFF's website and go to their vendor list, I am towards the bottom of the Shuni. So on my website there, you can see obviously my vendor stuff. And at the end, my contacts, you can see everywhere that you can find me. Please go check me out there. Any support helps. So you did talk about props. Do you have any faves? Okay, so I do have a couple, but my favorite one I actually lost. I can't find my strawberry plushie, and I literally started crying, but I will get one of my favorite props. The boy! This is a nightmare, but it's just a big pride flag. So yeah, I would say this is my favorite. Besides my strawberry. I'm sure it's here somewhere. But yes, my strawberry is definitely my favorite. Yes, I'm planning on actually getting a non-binary pride flag at the next convention. So, yeah, he does have a couple more props, but those are far away. Um, so yeah. What about fursuit storage? That is actually a good question. I just have a shelf where I keep him on the top shelf. Mannequins are pretty expensive, so if you don't have the money for that, it's totally understandable. Um, that's a very good question, actually. Fursuit storage is very difficult to figure out. Um, Obviously, closets work. I would put them in a like shelf where they won't like fall over or get crushed. Now, if you have a foam head, it won't be too big an issue because like if it's just real quick, then foam will just like pop back into place. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really have too much advice for that, but shelves work very well. I just have a like bookshelf that I put him on. Oh, okay. My cousin's mom doesn't really like furries. Do you have any tips? That is very good. My dad is super accepting of being a furry, but my mom was very concerned about it. Uh, I guess the only tip I have is show them the hobby side of it. Like, a good way of me convincing my mom was just showing her the art that I was doing, or like if I wrote anything like about furries that was safe for work, I would just like show her my art, my writing, stuff like that. So just show her the more safer work part of it. Somehow I convinced my mom to like furries through dance. Like I showed her a video of furries dancing and she was really into that. So yes. Okay, why did you join the furry fandom? So the way I got into the furry fandom was through Majira Strawberry. Surprise, surprise. I saw his What is a Furry video in my recommended, and I believe that was about 2016? 2017 actually. 2017. Saw Majira Strawberry video and it was all downhill from there, dude. As a new fursuiter and dancer, oh my god, congratulations. What is the best way to keep me going and motivated? Honestly, yes. That is very hard because like you see all these amazing dancers and fursuiters and like Telephone or I believe Taser, I believe is his name. The dancer. Very incredible. But you see all these amazing people and honestly, I would just watch their old videos. Because like if you see these old videos, then you can see their progression. And if you look at that, then it's really easy to see yourself in that position. Like, you're going to get better. There are very few things in life where you just stay at the same level forever. So just keep at it, honestly. So yeah, it's I'm not very good at giving life advice, but just keep trying, dude. Yes. Oh, creative motivation. Dude, I don't know. I'm in art block right now. Just look at other people's art, honestly. How long have you been a furry for? I said 2017 December. So almost 4 years. This December will be 4 years. What fursuit spray do you use? Does your suit have a signature spell? So I do not have a specific spray that I use. I'm actually out right now.
but my specific like scent is vanilla and strawberry. It's a mix, which like normally is not a good idea. But yeah, I really enjoy vanilla and strawberry. Like if you see me in person, that's what I smell like. I love fursuit dancing. What was your favorite aspect of the fur fandom? Definitely the art. The art is incredible. There are so many incredible, talented artists out there, whether it's like fursuit makers, artists, dancers, writers. Just the art. The art is amazing. Also, the people. Like the people are so accepting. Showing her the Ash Coyote film. Yes. Okay, I have actually not seen Ash Coyotes. The fandom. Do not judge me, honestly. Oh, actually, do you have any advice if you should go to a big con first or a small con? Definitely a small con. I went to a small con and it was still overwhelming for my first convention. The first convention I ever went to, for people in this area, like if you're around Asheville or Tennessee or like the Carolinas, I said Asheville, shut up. But yeah, if you're in the Carolinas or Tennessee or Kentucky, I highly, highly recommend Conapalooza because that was my first con and it was just incredible. I loved it so much, but that might just be the thing. So yeah, there are definitely a lot of good conventions. Smaller ones. I do not recommend going to a bit like your first con being a big con. That's a bad idea. So yeah, um, there are some really good small cons around here. I went to Anthrocon for my first con. No. Oh gosh, that must have been incredibly overwhelming. Were you at BRF 1? I was actually. That was my first furry con actually. It was absolutely amazing. I was I went there Friday to Saturday and Saturday is the day that everything got shut down. So it was a very interesting experience. BRFF has been my favorite con to this day. So if you guys didn't go to the first one, definitely check it out when it comes back because it's an amazing experience. Favorite fursuit species? Oh, Dutch angel dragons. Ever since I joined the fandom, it was my dream to have a Dutch angel dragon, and it just so happened that I ended up with this one being my first fursuit and really big first persona. Conference! Oh my god. I've always wanted to go to conference. That's really fun. BFF was my first FurryCon. That's nice. Honestly, whenever BRFF does come back, I can't wait to see everyone because you guys are amazing. Raz, I do not trust protogens. I'm sorry if that offends you, but they're scary. I don't trust. Scalies? Listen, Gator dogs know where it's at. If you don't have a Gator dog persona, get on that. This was my first con. Oh my god, your first con is amazing. How is your vision when in suit? You guys can probably tell how bad it is. I actually wear glasses when I'm not suiting, and since it was a pre-made, I couldn't get glasses added, so I can't see at all. Literally, like, if you've never had a fursuit or been in a fursuit, this, like, I'd say right about here is where I can see down, right about here is where I can see up, and I can't see anywhere past here. Like, this is all blind sight. And yeah, the vision is definitely super blurry. Okay, so oh my god, people just ask me about opinions on species now. Raccoons, great, love raccoons. Like 8 out of 10, I'd say. Deer, 9 out of 10, solid 9 out of 10. So yeah, deer are definitely very high up on my list. Hmm. Favorite hybrid species? Ooh, gator dogs. Are Dutch Angel dragons hybrid species? Because they would be my favorite, but so far gator dogs. Gator dogs are very, very high up there. Anything with a fluffy animal is my favorite. I just shove my paw in my mouth, ignore that. Hmm. You haven't been to a con yet? Or a furry con? I don't know if you Oh, you were originally planning on BRFF? Aw. I was very close to not being able to go to BRFF because I'm sure a lot of people who went to BRFF want to experience this, but whenever I was going, they just announced all of a sudden that like tickets were sold out, and I was like, oh, but I had already booked my hotel, so luckily I had already booked my hotel, so they let me still get a ticket. Wikiper has an entire entry on cons worldwide. Oh my god, I've looked at that 1,000 times. Good pick on the raccoons. Your stream will go on. No, I will insult raccoons. Listen, the only thing I like more than raccoons when it comes to like the like ghetto rodent species, possums. Possums are awesome. So I believe our stream is almost to an end. Raz can correct me on that if we have a lot more time. But so if you guys have any last questions, I'd like to get those in before the stream ends. Okay, so yeah, if anyone has any questions, get them in now and we'll get any more in. How many fursuits do you have, or do you have any plans for future fursuits? I'm planning on at least getting 2 more that I want now. I only have this one right now. So, in the future, my dream maker has always been More for Less or Mischief Makers. I know those are like big name makers, but they're very close to my heart. Since like 2 of my first furry YouTubers I watched were by them. So I'd like to get a full suit of Felix by Mischief Makers or More for Less. And then one of my wolf persona Xavier, he's my everything. So yeah. So when did you start to lose fur on things? Wait, start to lose fur on my suit? Or, oh, is there anything that I have to repair or replace? My tongue eventually will probably have to be replaced, along with this nose, like spike up here. It is very loose, you can see. So I'll probably have to get that replaced and have someone fix it. So yeah. I thought you were talking about like loose fur on things, and if you don't have a fursuit, I'm gonna tell you right now, there's gonna be fur everywhere on your clothes, in your bed, on your desk, wherever. Like I've been to people's houses without my fursuit, and they'll just find fursuit hair. I don't know how it happens. On like pause, on like pause or things like that. Honestly, if you're starting to lose fur on your fursuit, then it's time to retire it. Honestly, unless it's just from like brushing, then it's totally fine. But no, he's pretty good. But if you're like starting to lose fur, like it's just like getting loose, or like the stitching is getting messed up, you can either repair it, but it would probably be a good decision to retire it. I'd say retirement is a good plan after like maybe 7 years. 5 years is when they really start to go really downhill, but yeah. What about fixing shedding? Buddy, if your fursuit is shedding, then you got a bigger problem. But yeah, if it's just from like brushing when you mean shedding, then it might be the brush that you're using. Brushes can really affect it. I use a very like a very large hairbrush, like a very sensitive one for sensitive hair, because I have sensitive hair, so I already had one. And it works surprisingly well. I know that people are like, don't use hairbrushes, it'll pull out the fur. But like the hairbrush that I use pulls out less fur than actual fursuit brushes. So I'm okay with using that. The only thing I have is a dino head. Listen, people who insult dino heads, like dino masks, do not at me. Like dino masks can be so cute. You think brushing slower is better at all? I think it doesn't matter too much because it's like pulling off a band-aid. It's either like a little amount in like after a long amount of time or a ton in like a quick swipe. I actually recommend doing tiny areas so that you brush it out without like pulling on it as much. So yeah, do little areas at a time, and that'll keep your fur from falling out more. It's almost impossible to repair and match fur to the existing. Exactly. Like, even if you have like white fur anywhere, then it's still hard to find because there's like off-white, egg white, complete white. Do you have anything on steaming a suit? Steaming a suit? I've never steamed my suit because I don't have a bodysuit, so I don't know. I feel like the heat damage might mess with it, so I would contact someone who knows more about fur to do that because heat damage is very bad for a suit and it's very hard to repair if you can at all. So yeah, I would not steam it. I would just like do the thing I said with like it has to be something cool or like dry. Cool. Like cold. Sorry. So like yeah, I don't use anything that would warm it very much because heat damage is extremely serious. I do know that you can lose less fur if your brush is upside down. Yeah, it can change a little bit. If you brush like upside down, that does help a lot. Or not a lot, but like a little bit. I personally do it the like the normal way, not upside down, but I've known people who do it regularly. So it's whatever you think is best. It can depend on the fur sometimes. Oh yeah, definitely ask the maker. If before you do anything to your suit, ask the maker, honestly, because they know more than you do. Or special. Yes, always ask your maker like how they recommend washing it. That is extremely important. Not to like at my maker or anything, but I had to figure out on my own mostly because like I messaged them like, "Hey, how would I wash it?" And they were like, "Oh, when's it from?" And I said like 2018, and they just didn't know. Like they didn't know what fur they had used on this, so I had to figure that out all on my own. But like they were pretty chill about it, so don't be mean to them or anything. So yeah, it was a very weird experience washing my head. Okay, so yeah, definitely ask your maker about washing. So yes, that is all the time that we have today. Thank you guys so much for attending this panel and stream. This was my first panel ever, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. I plan on doing them in the future. So yeah, thank you guys so much for joining.